you can hide from me? Probably because you murdered my siblings. That's probably why I'm hugging you. Maybe you should understand.
I didn't. I'm sorry that you felt that way.
You didn't do anything, right? I prayed for you in my worst moments. I prayed for my siblings who swore to me were okay. I thought I could trust you. I thought that you were a completely different person. I don't know a murderous mother.
You can make judgments when you weren't there and you don't know what happened.
What happened?
Everyone's making their own judgments.
Mom, you've been shoving BS on my throat for a very long time. I'm going to talk to you.
You could be mad at me.
Hey, listen to me. I'm not mad. Listen to me. Fine, listen to me. I sat there and prayed. I can't tell you the amount of pain that I have felt from your decisions in Jesus Christ's name. It kills me to watch you sit here and tell me this is a trial. It kills me to watch you take the victim's route and say that this shouldn't have happened to you.
Okay, hi guys. What you're listening to is actually an astonishing, actually the biggest bombshell today in court. And if you feel like the audio is not clear enough, or this is the audio we heard in the overflow, if you feel like it's not clear enough, then maybe this episode's not for you. If you want to go to the original link, maybe that's the problem. You can go to this link and maybe give that a try. But basically what we're talking about is Colby actually confronting his mother and basically calling her a murderer. And what you hear is firstly her being sort of dismissive of it. Basically, if you weren't there, you won't know. And she basically says no one was there. The FBI wasn't there. Family weren't there. So if you weren't there, you don't know. In other words, if you weren't there, what is JJ still alive, right? Yeah, Kitty, what is this? Just turn up the volume. But I mean, this is the situation we deal with in the overflow room, which is we can barely see the participants in court. I did actually ask someone today, an officer, if they can pass on the message, can we just see Laurie, for example, in full screen? And his answer was firstly no, and then he said he'll pass on the message. So we also have difficulty, getting things like this clearly. This is actually my ticket for today, right? And tomorrow, fortunately, I'm going to be in the court, so then things are pretty much as good as and as authentic as you can kind of get there. But even in the courtroom, this audio would have been the sort of quality. But the reason why it's so astonishing is you're actually getting Colby's, that's Laurie's son, you're getting his raw emotion, right? You're getting a real sense of indignation, teeth grinding frustration, anger, but most of all, sort of heartbreaking, grieving, bitter hurt, because he's accusing his own mother of killing his siblings. And today in court, and it was quite interesting, the way the prosecutor put a photo of Tylee in front of Colby and said, do you know this person? And he didn't break down crying, but he kind of started crying, and then he sniffled sort of for the rest of the thing. The prosecutor could just as well have said it to him. Do you have siblings? Yes, one is Tylee. Yes, the other one is JJ. But instead puts this photo in front of him, and he's quite an emotional character. In court, he basically begins to sort of grieve and becomes tearful. And as poignant as that was, it pales in comparison to the Colby you hear here. His anger is justified. His he's pissed off. And what is also astonishing is we get a sense of the real Laurie here. That the real Laurie is actually quite slippery. That one moment she's quite quiet while Colby is angry, and then she's quite kind of apologetic and kind of trying to be accessible and approachable and soft in a way. And then another Laurie starts shining through. She giggles and also becomes combative and fairly aggressive. And that's what I want you guys to pay attention to. It's not so much can I hear what is being said. I mean, we didn't actually have time to type everything out. It's the tone of what's being said, the dynamic between mother and son. So I'm going to try and play a chunk of this. The whole thing's only about 10 minutes. I'm going to try and play a chunk of it. Try and just put yourself in a calm place and just try and get a sense of two people. One person, a son who has lost two siblings and a father, essentially. It's a stepfather, but nevertheless a parental figure that meant something to him. And also an uncle whom you don't kind of get the feeling he really liked very much. And in a very real sense, he's also lost his mother. If his mother has gone over to the dark side, if his mother has committed murder, he's also lost her. And so now he's lost his mother, his father, and his siblings. He's kind of alone in the world. It's a desperate place to be. And how does Laurie respond? By being kind of dismissive, by kind of giggling, by being combative, by denying it, right? And that makes it so much worse. And you'll hear Colby kind of say the same thing over and over again. Did you really do this in Jesus' name, kind of thing? Okay, so let's listen in. Again, I apologize if it's not to the clarity you like, but there's nothing I can do about it.
You are telling me that Chad Daybell came into your life, and all of a sudden, everything changes. And I'm talking about my spirit feels this. I prayed. I trusted you. I gave you every chance I could past my own limitations as a human being. I pushed past all of everything to try to get to you, to help my own mother. You lied to me, specifically to me, more times than I can count. To know that they're gone and you knew, and my phone's being texted by my little sister, who's not even alive, my little brother, who's the sweetest little kid ever. For what purpose? Can you tell me this is God's will for my whole family, including my stepfather, to be dead? After everything you try to tell me, you can tell me right now that Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, is on your side. You tell me that with all conviction in your heart that Jesus Christ is on your side. Please.
I can't tell you that.
Say it. Say his name. Say it.
So can you hear kind of a sniffing in the background, sniffing that's kind of louder in a sense than the actual audio? And so I obviously wasn't in court today, but I did speak to two people who were. It's quite strange. I got two kind of contradictory versions from both of them. The one person who was a little bit younger said that Laurie was grinning the whole time that Colby was testifying. So obviously not grinning when this was played, but grinning while he was testifying. That's what she said. That is, I think, what she observed or what she thought she was seeing. What you seem to be hearing here is actually sniffing. And I'm assuming that it's Laurie who's sniffing based on what the other person, I think her name's Lois, just a supporter of this channel, said that she saw Laurie wiping, she had a tissue and she's sort of wiping away tears while this call was being played, if I gathered that correctly. The other thing that she said was that when Colby testified, Laurie was watching him, like she was hyper vigilant. She was like almost on the edge of her chair. She was very, very alert. And you kind of got the impression that she wanted him to look at her. She wanted to kind of connect with him. She wanted him to feel her there and to, get a sense of her. And you got the opposite sense from him, that he barely looked at Laurie. He sort of barely glanced at her once or twice, where she was staring at him. And when I did sit in court, Laurie doesn't always look at whoever's testifying. When Melanie Gibb was on the stand, Laurie sometimes seemed to be ignoring her, especially when the prosecutor was questioning her. Whereas when her attorney was questioning Melanie Gibb, then Laurie was attentive. So I found that definitely quite interesting. The other thing that I think is worth pointing out is when you listen to this, are you getting a sense? In other words, he's asking her, Colby's sort of adamant. He's saying, did you do this in the name of Jesus, right? And this is where you kind of get a sense, did she really believe what she was doing or not? Or is it a kind of a combination of it was cynical and something else? And so that is quite a difficult question. So let's listen to this as well from that perspective, because she's kind of being fairly forthright with him about her beliefs. So let's listen to that part.
He told you, and you followed him like exactness, because I have prayed for you. I sat there and tried my best to forgive you and Chad and Alex, and I was deceived, and I was broken by my own mother. What are you doing? What are you doing? I prayed to heavenly God, and I said, you tell me, Father.
All right, have all the instructions. They think they know what happened. They think
I don't care about
they
other
know
people.
what happened. They think they know what's responsible.
Do you know that you told me? Do you know what you told me?
You weren't there, so
You're right. I wasn't there. I was kept.
that's right. And one day
Two kids
you will know.
murder.
One day
Murder.
you will know what actually happened.
You're right. You know what, Mom?
And we all will stand there and
Everything is right. You're absolutely right. He will convict the people who act in his name with pure blasphemy. This is funny. This is funny. This is funny. You're laughing like this is funny. How come your camera's on? You don't want to look.
So that is the moment that, to me, is one of the most shocking moments thus far in this trial. You can hear how emotional Colby is. You can hear how kind of broken he is. You can hear just all of this outpouring of emotion. In the middle of it, she laughs. And then he confronts her on that, right? I'm going to go back just to play that again. And I just want you to, again, just try and absorb this moment where he's, he's not like upset that she stuck a knife into his tire. He's upset that people are dead. And this is her response.
He will convict the people who act in his name with pure blasphemy. Is this funny? This is funny. It's
nice
just
to
you
talk
and me.
to
I'm in
you
my house
folks.
alone.
I love you. I always will. One day you will see and one day you will understand.
Go ahead and
I
hang
do
up.
love
See
you.
how that works for you. You gonna hang up?
I don't have anything else to say. You obviously don't know.
Let me tell you
You weren't
something.
there. You weren't there. Summer wasn't there. My mom wasn't there. The police weren't there. The FBI weren't there.
You're right.
Nobody was there.
Kylie and JJ.
Yeah, and guess what? They know. They know exactly what happened.
Okay, so this is the moment where she kind of changes. So if you've been paying attention, she starts off being conciliatory, kind of friendly, um, kind of in a listening mode, right? And then she laughs at a certain point. Then he confronts her on that, and then she kind of switches to being combative, quite aggressive. And now you're going to hear her talking. Like she's kind of been holding back in a way. She's kind of been not wanting to volunteer anything, and now she's going to basically show another side to herself.
And they love me, and we're still together forever. They love me, and they are fine, and they do know the truth, and I know the truth, and we're the only people that do. So you can judge me, Colby, all day long. Go ahead and judge me. The whole world has. The whole world has judged me.
Listen to me.
They don't know, and you don't know. You don't know what I've been through, and you don't even give a crap what they've been through. Nobody does, except for me. I'm the one that knows. I am the one that was in the hospital with Kylie for hundreds of days watching her suffer. I am the one that was there doing everything with JJ every day. I was the one who did it all these years.
You did it all to throw it in the garbage. They're not.
You don't know what happened. You don't know what happened.
No matter what happened if they're buried in your new husband's backyard. Tell me that matters what happened. You tell me that you did this in Jesus' name, Mom. I have to hear that out of you. You believe it and you are not afraid. Every witness of Christ will scream his name when he comes back. So you are that person.
I am that person. I am that person. And he will come to you. Yeah, Colby, because that's what it is. You don't even know. You weren't even
When
there.
I asked you about Friday in October, what did you tell me? What did you tell me? What lies did you feed me? Why would you lie to me if you were so, if you're with the Lord and you've seen him, and I'm just talking purely to you, and you've seen Jesus Christ, where's the fear? Why wouldn't you tell me something? Why were you afraid? Why is everyone against you? Why is everything against my mom?
You can be against me all you want. One day, we will all stand there with Jesus. We will all stand there with Jesus, and you will know the truth of everything. Not for me.
You're telling me that.
So think about the contravention that's going on here. Laurie's on trial right now for basically triple murder, and that is almost minimizing what she could possibly be charged with, right? She's on trial right now for triple murder, and her son is confronting her on where's my family? Why were they dug up in your husband's yard? And I was actually at that property yesterday, midday, right? I was there, and there's something crushing about driving for miles and miles and miles through um, very nondescript terrain, and then you come upon a equally nondescript patch somewhere, and that's where two lives ended. For what? Why did their lives end? To what purpose? And yeah, Laurie's saying, you know what? We will all know the answers when we all go to heaven. And the issue is actually no, we're going to know the answers in court. We are finding out the answers now. Those bodies were dug up. Autopsies were performed. We looked at JJ's face. And so, Laurie seems to be saying that when everyone is in heaven and there's a trial, I guess, in heaven, then it's going to be sort of a situation where he's found not guilty. Oh, you did what I asked, my child. You killed these zombies. Thank you very much, and you need a medal. Really? Is that what she wants us to believe? Maybe that is what she wants us to believe, but is that what Laurie knows to be true? Is that what Laurie actually believes? And I find that very hard to believe. I don't know about you, but I find it hard to believe that Laurie thinks God truly wanted her to do what she was doing. If I had a thought. I went just before I went live. I walked to Subway, and I was just thinking, what did Laurie and Chad basically spend all of that money on? Because they ended up with quite a lot of money from various sources. What did they spend all of that money on? You know what the answer is? Airfare to various places and 46 guns. So 46 guns isn't 6 or 16 or 26. It's kind of an arsenal. I think it would compare, it might actually make the murder arsenal look quite small in comparison. Or it might sit next to that in a very comparable way, but those are multimillionaires, whereas these people are very, very poor and they're unemployed. What were they going to do with all those guns? Anyway, let's listen a bit further.
This was all done in light. Say it. Tell me that this was done in Jesus' name.
You don't know what happened.
Why? Why don't I know, Mom? Oh, because I was kept in the dark to protect me? You know who needed protecting? My little dead siblings. That's who needed protecting, Mom. This
Where were you
is
when
not
you did that? Is that what you think you did?
You ran.
I hadn't been.
A month later, you ran away. I never wanted you guys to leave. I would have taken those kids in 1 second. I would bring them into my home and I would have taken care of them. That's not even a question to me.
Yeah, everybody
You can't say that you know.
Everybody says that.
Says it now? Where was my offer?
I'm saying
Well, you
I did everything for them.
Well, me
I
and
had.
Peter Griffin run away together in Hawaii? How about that? If you would have offered me, you would have known. You cannot sit here and lie.
That's not everything. That is not the truth. Okay? That's what people are
They were
thinking.
murdered,
They're
twisted
assuming.
around, and then you walked away. So when was
Tina, that is not me sniffing. And this is also not a recording I made. This is a recording from the court. You're not allowed to make a recording. If I was sitting there and I made an audio recording, I would be booted out of the whole thing. You're not allowed to record anything in that building. I want to read a comment left by someone here. Brittany says, I heard that the defense may not even put on a very long case. I find that interesting. I don't know where you heard that. But I know in the Patrick Frazee case, there's virtually no defense. I just want to see. Mondo says, they say Laurie was a great hairdresser, but that wasn't good enough for her. I actually went to have my hair cut today, long overdue. So yeah, it is. Pretty in Pink says that I think Laurie's got delusions of grandeur and giant ego, maniacal personality. Now, if it's true, some people have been saying that Laurie's a narcissist, and if she's got delusions of grandeur, then I think there's a very good chance that she could testify. In other words, the 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 more narcissistic she is, the more used to getting away she is, the more likely it is that she's going to testify. And I think that is becoming the biggest question right now. Is Laurie going to testify? We know what happened in the Murdoch case. Also delusions of grandeur, also egomaniac, also very self-indulgent, very narcissistic, also believes his own, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. it does seem, I don't know if you guys agree with this, doesn't it seem that Laurie's putting on a performance in the courtroom? She sort of cozies up to a lawyer, she smiles, she seemed to sniff or something during, seemed to be crying or somewhat emotional during this. So if she's already playing to the court, isn't that going to include testimony? And remember, in the Murdoch case, we also saw him very extravagantly nose pouring, crying, and being very quite a lot of posturing going on when he wasn't even on the stand. All of that was a clue to the fact that he was going to testify. In other words, the acting had already begun. Are we going to see that in this case? Let's continue.
No, you don't know that. No, that is not what happened. That's what happened.
You tell me what happened. If you can tell me what happened, then I don't care. If you can actually explain it, then it's different.
I would love.
But you can't. Talk to you about. Mom, you've been saying that you've been wanting to tell me for a very long time, and you never say it. You have no idea how much pain I have felt in my body. I feel like I could die. My own mom, my siblings, and my whole family, my dad, everyone is gone except for you, and you're in jail because of it. I have prayed to Heavenly Father Himself and asked Him to help me survive this. Do you understand the freaking earthquake that has been caused? Do you know how many people are hurt and broken now? And you're telling me that there's a reason? Why are you following Chad down the rabbit hole, Mom? Why would you follow anybody that is not good? How can you follow someone that cannot lead you to salvation in Jesus, Mom? You can't lie to me anymore. You can't pretend anymore. You can't hide anymore. If you want to tell me what happened, I called you for that very reason. You had enough condemnation for the whole time and eternity, but you're telling me that you're going to stand in front of Jesus Christ and you're going to be fine. Then I'm still praying for you. I am still praying for you. I don't know where the lies and all these things are written. I don't see it. I never have. The life of Jesus Christ is the most powerful thing that's ever lived. It's the most loving, embracing thing that has ever happened to this world. And I pray.
So can you see how Colby's actually arguing this within a religious argument? He's kind of saying, within his beliefs in God, within his beliefs in Jesus, how could this happen? And how could it happen in Jesus' name, right? And it's almost as though that layer, if I can call it that, it's almost like his belief system is a kind of layer through which he experiences this, because obviously it's bad enough that he's lost his siblings. Obviously it's bad enough that he's lost his stepfather. Obviously it's bad enough that he feels like he's even lost his mother. But the crazy part, I think, for him is he's lost his mother to the same things he believes, except somehow they're not the same. And he's got no idea how not the same they are, right? And so he's actually asking her questions within that framework, which I think makes it very confusing for him. And it's also easier for her to say things within that framework, like all will be revealed, and God works in mysterious ways. That sort of explanation, which is a non-explanation.
Pray that you see Him and fall into His grace. I pray every day. I pray, no matter how mad I am at you, no matter how bad I want to hit your husband in the face with a shovel. I pray for you. I pray for him. You ripped my heart out, and you ripped out everyone in this family's heart out. I'm going to be in Idaho this week. You know, look me in my eye, Mom. Look me in my eye.
So did you catch that part right at the end where he said, I'm going to be in Idaho next week or this week, right? I'm making an assumption here, but doesn't that mean this was recorded like basically a week ago, right? I mean, it could be that this was dealing with another court appearance, but it could also be that this is actually a very, very recent recording where I don't know. To be honest, I think when he talks about the children being dug up at Chad's property, I would imagine it had to have been quite recent to that, right? Do you agree? Do you think this is something that he said in the past week, or do you think it's something that was sort of happening almost in the run up to the sort of preliminary hearing? What do you guys think? I'm just going to review some of my tweets and then I'll share those with you. So what are you guys saying? Let's have a look. Zergon says, I'm thinking it's older. Sally says she was very quiet in the beginning. Lorraine says it was recently. Okay. Okay. So anyway, that's certainly interesting. I want to have a look at this article and just see if it actually provides a date. Oh, it says here, let's have a look. The gut-wrenching jail call between Laurie and her eldest son after JJ and Tyler were found. And I think the word that possibly needs to be as soon after JJ and Tyler were found, right? I wonder if it didn't really say much more than that, but there you go. Okay, so I'm gonna just take you guys through some of my tweets. I'm not going to deal with Zulima. Zulima started the day off, and it was really all about the defense trying to prove that she wasn't very close to Laurie, and in other words, to try and undermine her in that way. And so one of the things she said is, well, Alex moving to Rexburg. So the other criticism was that she wasn't very close to Alex. Well, she said, well, Alex moving to Rexburg, and then obviously herself as well, right, being Alex's wife, was indicative of their closeness to Laurie and Chad, right? Let me bring this up a little. Okay, so John Thomas hands Zulima copies of texts and then goes through all of these. This kind of went on for quite a while. That's actually a photo of the house today, or what it looked like yesterday. By the way, that dog you see in the corner there actually came, sort of walked all the way around there and then came to the gate and seemed like a very sweet dog. Not sure what that means, but seemed like a sweet dog. Actually licked my fingers. But yeah, it's a very nondescript property in the middle of a nondescript landscape. Okay, so as I said, yeah, Thomas is going through a lot of trouble to discredit Zulima, asking her to read texts. And this is because her testimony is so damaging to his case. Now, I do think that what was played today, that call that you heard today, I think that's also extremely damaging because it shows the jury would have felt something that perhaps hasn't been expressed thus far. it's one thing to show autopsy photos, it's one thing to describe certain relationships. It's another thing to hear and feel the righteous indignation, the grief of a son who's really lost his entire family. To hear it in those, to even hear the anger. And I found it really very strange that Colby only testified for literally about 3 minutes. His testimony to the prosecutor was literally about 3 minutes. And then the cross-examination probably went on for at least 15 minutes, right? And so I think that is actually very damaging to Laurie. It's her own son's agony writ large. Um, you know, when you're sitting in court, like the way you're hearing it now, in a YouTube video, you might say, yeah, I do pick, but in a situation where there's a whole crowd of people sitting quietly in a room and there's these two voices, it's got a very, very powerful impact. And then one of the people responsible for that voice is sitting right there. And the other person responsible for the voice is sitting right there, right? Then it is definitely quite powerful. When you started your trial showing the autopsy photos, and now you're actually seeing the mother accused of that defending herself by laughing. You're seeing the son indignant, angry, embittered, broken. And this is the response from his mother. Well, you'll find out when you're in heaven, right? So it really was pretty powerful. Okay, so let's go back to, I don't really want to deal with Zulema, but one of the interesting questions was, did Chad or Laurie ever tell you to hurt anyone spiritually? Then there was a long pause, which she actually had to think about it. No. She said, now I believe that Chad and Laurie's intentions were very evil. And then Thomas said, oh, so your intentions were evil? No. And I find that quite interesting. Like there were 2 or 3 incidents today besides this where Zulema participates with Chad and Laurie, and even to some extent Melanie. And then when Laurie's in trouble, then, oh, no, she was evil and I was misled. I didn't do anything wrong. Someone went into court today and was taken out, and then, no, it was personal. That person wrongly thought that I did something wrong. And I think there are some people in true crime that are so used to pointing fingers that when a finger is ever pointed at them, it's just unimaginable. I couldn't have done anything wrong, so you must be the person who's guilty. So in this case, you literally have someone saying, no, the court who's trying Laurie Vallow is, and you can fill in the blank, right? I think one of the tests in terms of your own humanity is if someone is upset with you and even if they're wrong about it, are you ever able to acknowledge that you made a mistake? Are you ever able to say, I'm sorry? So anyway, Thomas asked Zulema if she has a portal in her home. I must say this was also a crazy moment. Feels like Harry Potter. Bear in mind, Chad had 5 kids, and all of them probably went through the Harry Potter stage. And Chad must have realized, wow, this casting spells and portals, it's catching on. And so anyway, Thomas shows Zulema a text where she asked Chad about creating a portal. And then that is it. That's it. So I'm not going to deal with the redirecting. But I did find it also quite weird how Zulema was asked about her faith, and she said, you know what, my faith is all about finding the good in people. And it seemed the opposite. It seemed like her faith was about finding demons in people and getting rid of them. Like you don't see a person, you see a demon. And that's all you can talk about, that's all you can do. demons, zombies, possession. And there's an acknowledgement that she did start to believe all of that nonsense, right? I don't know why this is now done that. She talks about, did you see the same pattern of empowerment with Alex? It's a very clever argument to say that in the same way she was empowered, where she's sitting there talking about how she was empowered, she's saying, did they empower Alex? In other words, did they tell him that he was special? Did they tell him that he had this important mission on Earth that he would need 46 guns to complete? Okay, and now this was very actually anticlimactic. After Zulema, Colby came on, and I thought this was going to be for the rest of the day, and it was over before you knew it. And so these were powerful words. How do you know Laurie Bello? She's my mother. Now let me see if I can. I'm just going to do a quick look and see if that audio is available, because it might be, and then I can play that and we can go through the tweets sort of separately and see if that's available. Doesn't look like it is. It's not available just yet. Okay, so let me take you through these. Okay, how do you know? See, now if I look at the screen and it's there, it looks like on this screen that I'm looking away from it. So I'm going to move the screen over to the other side, just so that they're sort of in sync. Just a bit disorienting because the cursor kind of is now in the reverse of what it should be. Am I making any sense, or do you guys not understand what I'm saying? Okay. That's a bit better, I hope. Cornelius said, I've got to go. We'll catch the rest of this on replay. Bye for now. Good to see you. Okay. So that's how it starts. How do you know Laurie Bello? She's my mother. You would have imagined that this could have and should have been some of the most powerful testimony. In the case against Laurie Bello, her own son testifying against her, you'd imagine that would be, incredibly powerful. It would be dynamite. And yet it was 3 minutes. Colby, and this part I thought is very, a very interesting, sorry about the spelling mistake there, but I thought it was a very interesting ploy by the prosecution. Because this was only going to be 3 minutes, you kind of would imagine if by the end of it, Colby didn't show any emotion, it would be almost so what? Colby testified regarding his mother, so what? And so I'm sure the prosecutor felt he's got to do something with this. He's got to, he's got to get some reward out of putting Colby on for this very limited time. And so instead of simply asking, I mean, just think about it. Instead of simply asking Colby, is your sister Tylee Ryan? Yes. Instead of doing that, he says, he's shown a picture of Tylee. And he's asked who it is, and Colby actually starts crying. Sorry, that's also spelled wrong. Sniffles. So what I'm trying to say is, if you took that away and you simply, because I mean, it's obvious. Is Tylee your sister? Yes. Why does he need to see a picture of her? Well, in order to show that emotion. You had the same ploy in the Chris Watts case, where instead of just asking, where's Bella and Cece, pictures of them are pushed in front of Chris Watts, and that triggers him. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. So it's a kind of psychological mindfuckery going on, and it actually works, right? Okay, so now we deal with a picture of JJ. So who's this? Picture of JJ, we see it on screen. He's my adopted brother. And so immediately Colby is, you can hear the emotion. You hear the sniffling, and the sniffling goes on through the entire testimony. Same done with a picture of Charles. Who's that? He's my stepfather. He's asked if Laurie told him about Charles's death. This was also a whopper. Laurie told me that Charles died of a heart attack. This was a whopper. So, if you say Laurie lies, Laurie is a liar, it's not just, I don't like you, so I'm calling you a liar. She does lie in some significant and shocking ways, right? After Charles was murdered, he saw Alex. This is Colby. Colby saw Alex with a bandage on his head, sitting on the lounge, watching TV. And so you really get an incredible insight. You almost like enter into this case through Colby, where Colby is actually seeing people involved in a story shortly after some of the events that we know. He's there, he's in the lounge. And so what does he see? He sees Alex, the man who shot Charles, the man who shot his stepfather, watching TV. Is he broken? Is he traumatized? No, he's watching TV. The only thing that seems unusual, he's got a bandage wrapped around his sort of bald head. So you kind of get this weird sense that someone is killed and the next thing it's totally back to normal. Yeah, well, he was a zombie, obviously. Let's watch the show. Brittany says that's very incriminating to me that she told Colby it was a heart attack. Why lie about that if, why lie about that? And I also think it's interesting that the explanation for what happened to Charles, isn't that also what was sort of suggested with Laurie, with Tammy, that Tammy just stopped breathing in the middle of the night? Did she not also die of a heart attack? And people have been saying, yeah, well, she was actually training for a marathon. There's nothing wrong with her heart. And toxicology and the autopsy has confirmed that she was in very good health. So the heart attack is like used as this scapegoat, right? Okay, let's continue. Wood asked Colby if his mother ever asked about Charles's insurance. He said, yes, she spoke about it. She would frequently say that her and Charles were running out of money. Sorry, that's not quite right. We're running out of money. And then Colby says, yes. Are you aware that Tiny had a bank account? Yes. How often would that I think, sorry, I'm not quite sure what I was doing here, but I think that refers to how often would you get money from that account? And then he said randomly, it wasn't like a regular payment. And then he was asked through Venmo, and the answer is yes. So anyway, the reason why there's some typos here is I was typing very quickly on my phone. And I would normally type on my laptop, I would normally want to tweet on my laptop, but my laptop wouldn't connect when I tried to connect it, just because I think there were too many devices. Anyway, that's my excuse. Anyway, so Woody's heading towards the fact that Laurie Venmo's Tylee money to Colby in November after she's dead. This shows Laurie isn't completely innocent. She's not a completely innocent bystander, that she's trying to manipulate the situation, trying to pull the wool over Colby's eyes. And, you know, I think if there's any, I don't know if the word is even silver lining, but if there is any silver lining to take out of this situation, certainly from Colby's perspective, it's that his mother doesn't want to murder him, that his mother needs to keep him at a minimum safe distance, that his mother needs to, what's the word, keep up a certain level of pretense so that he doesn't need to die. You know, it's like, if I tell you I'm going to have to kill you, right? You kind of get the sense that at some level, Laurie must have loved Colby more than her other children, and also more than Charles, and also, you know what I mean? That you follow my reasoning? That Laurie was actually making some effort to protect Colby, and I mean Colby is with us today. I do wonder whether Colby was going dark in terms of the whole equation thing. Did Chad say, "Whoa, I've just gotten a email from heaven. Colby is going dark." I wonder if that's what's going to taking place. Then it says Wood talks about Laurie indicating she would be using Tylee's money. So Laurie actually told Colby that I'm going to be using Tylee's money. And so I could see this on the screen that Laurie was staring straight ahead. And I didn't know that she seemed to actually be trying to, hoping that her son would look at her in court, and maybe she was hoping that he would soften. Maybe she was hoping that he would feel a connection. He would feel sorry for her. He would feel, I don't know, feel differently. But then he didn't want to look at her. And at this point, it seemed like this was going to carry on for a while. And it was interesting. He's not testifying in support of his mother, but his dead siblings. And you heard that in that call, right? You heard in the call that he was campaigning for Tylee and JJ. After Charles died, did Laurie tell you she was going to get married soon? Yes. Did she tell you who she was going to marry? No. I mean, things like that are literally mind-blowing. Imagine your mother or your son saying, I'm going to get married. Oh, okay. That's it. There's no who, there's no, am I going to meet the bride or the groom? And there's no invitation to the wedding. I mean, that is crazy and that is strange, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. Sorry, that's exactly right. So Tylee's dead, and her mother has taken over, and we know this from the later testimony. Her mother had taken over her bank account and was basically, it basically seemed as though Tylee was still alive in terms of certainly her messages to Colby. Yeah, at the moment, Colby is married with 2 kids. One's 4 years old, one's 1 year old. One's a 1 year old. Okay, so let's continue. So at this point, Laurie takes a sip of water, and that's the end of it. That's the end of that actual testimony. Can you believe it? Although I said it was barely 5 minutes, I think it was even less than that, 3 or 4 minutes. I was actually quite impressed with Archibald's cross. So it was the first time I'd heard or seen him in action. He's quite effective. So this was a recess. Do I want to talk about the person who was removed from the courtroom? I think the only thing I really want to say is almost every high-profile case that we deal with now also deals with like a rogue YouTuber or a rogue social media person, someone who somehow undermines the investigation or the prosecution. I'm talking about the court situation. And it seems like they, I don't know if I should say we, I hate to be sort of part of that because I respect the legal process. I've studied the legal process. But it seems like they/we are becoming a law unto ourselves. You know, everyone's told you may not record anything in court. Nothing. You may not take a selfie. You may not take a photo of a poster. You may not make audio recordings, right? The only kind of recording you can do is to say what you've seen, for example, in a tweet. That's it. But no. You know what? Everyone on my channel wants to see what. Okay, so I'm going to do that. No, but no one is allowed to. Okay, but you know. So this is a photo I took not that far from Rexburg. It's not in Rexburg, but it's not that far from Rexburg. And it gives you just a sense of what it looks and feels like in that area. I mean, you get that sense from Chad's home anyway. Look how big the trees are and how they sort of reach for the sky. Look how small and simple and basic the houses are. And so these simple people sometimes have sophisticated beliefs. And I think that kind of explains what's going on with Chad and Laurie. I think like Laurie's a hairdresser, Chad's a gravedigger. Simple people, sophisticated beliefs, but beliefs that don't necessarily make sense. Yeah, she's a writer, yeah. Pretty in Pink says, thank you all, good night. I wonder whether I shouldn't stop at this point. We are at about an hour. Do you guys want me to continue? So Archibald says, as a child, who raised you? My mother. Colby says he has 2 children, 4 and 1. Has Laurie ever met your children? Yes, my eldest daughter. Did you have a good childhood or bad? Bad. Okay. I actually think I'm going to stop there, kind of at about the hour mark. I really just wanted to play you that audio. Let's see what a couple of you guys are saying. Terry says, please continue. I just got home and can pay attention. Lisa Brick says, thanks for the authentic coverage. Okay, let me do a couple more tweets. I have to do something for Terry. I'm going to have to do something for Terry. So there we go. Gloria says, I don't think their beliefs were sophisticated. They actually are. It's demons that are possessed in terms of certain names. There's a certain kind of rating that you are at this point or that point. Bear in mind, Chad's already written books. There's a complex tapestry of how all of this fits together with 144,000 and, all of the what's the word? You know, all of the things that are commonly held beliefs by a lot of Mormons and some Christians as well. It's built onto that. It's not something that has just come out of isolation. So it's taking a fairly complicated gospel, if you will, and it's actually making it even more complicated. It's kind of a derivative. And you know, if you, I'm not quite sure what your beliefs are, but you might say if the original belief is X, then whatever this is Y or Z. You know, so some people might say that um, Mormonism is derived from Christianity. Well, if that's true, some people might say no, it's its own thing. But if you say Mormonism was derived from Christianity, and I guess you could say, well, which one's older? But if you do say that, then I suppose you could say, well, this doomsday cult was then derived from the Mormon derivation. In other words, and so from that perspective, it is actually quite complicated. You know, if you say there aren't zombies and I don't believe in demon possession, that's a simple solution. But that's if you're not caught up in the whole thing. Deborah said it sounds like biblical Dungeons and Dragons. What do you mean by I'm very biased toward the Mormon religion? Do you mean you supportive of it or you not? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Brittany says the 144,000 is spoken of in Revelation 14 are all Jewish men, virgins, according to that scripture. Scott Rice says it's going to be there tomorrow. That'll be interesting. It's today was a little bit busier than last week, but slightly. I am seeing I don't know, the person that arrived today that was kicked out is another YouTuber, they're a couple. Someone came up to me today very quickly, just in passing, and said, "Oh, I'm a supporter of your channel," and I didn't really have time to say, "Hi, how are you? Who are you?" kind of thing. But there's quite a lot of media going on. I'm seeing more media vans. So we'll see. The trial so far definitely is dishing up interesting moments, that's for sure. Okay. Yeah, it's very hard to get into court. Like I said, I've been here for tomorrow will be my fourth court day, and will only my fourth trial day. It will only be my second time in court, and I've been really like got my finger on the trigger. So it is actually quite difficult. But who knows? Maybe Scott can sort of say, "I'm a lawyer. I should." Who knows? I don't know. Okay, shall I read a couple more tweets for Terry's benefit? So remember, this is the defense asking these questions after a very short testimony in chief. And that they are actually very effective questions. Did your mother protect you from Joe Ryan? Did your mother protect you from this father figure? Yes. Was your next stepdad Charles Vano? Yes. Did you have a good relationship with Charles? Yes. Did you have struggles as a teenager? Yes. Did your mother help with those struggles? Yes. Did your mother help you with your lack of self-worth? Yes. Did you have suicidal thoughts? Objection. It's very hard to argue with those questions. You obviously get an idea that Laurie was quite a good mother once upon a time. Laurie was quite a good person once upon a time. I don't know whether that really makes the case, because if she was good, then surely she knows how to be good, and surely she knows what it means to be bad. Terry says this case is rubbing off on the Moscow case. Lots of people shouting religious corruption. Really? Okay. Next one. Did you graduate from high school? No. That was something I didn't really know. Something I didn't tweet here, but I think he did get some sort of qualification, possibly via like correspondence. So I don't know whether he doesn't have some kind of high school qualification, but it is interesting that he didn't graduate from high school. And what I think that may indicate, it's hard to say, but may indicate that was Laurie such a good mother after all, if she didn't um, kindle her son and protect her son and create a home environment for his son that allowed him to complete high school. I mean, my own sister didn't complete high school in a conventional way. She did eventually she did complete high school and got far more distinctions than my brother or I got. And, but she didn't also complete high school. And there was also tragedy in our family. So anyway, then did you also go on an LDS mission? Yes, for 6 weeks. And you do get the sense that Colby's also um, quite a fellow of faith, right? There you go. That's what I'm looking for. In America, it's called a GED. Teenagers allowed to drop out at age 16. What is GED? What does it stand for? It stands for, well, so the high school equivalency diploma. What is it actually? What is it's general educational development test? Okay, so that's what it is. In South Africa, I think it's referred to as your matriculation exam. I think that's what we call it. In the UK, I think it's called A levels. I'm not sure if it's A levels or O levels. Okay. Right. And this is also quite interesting. Did your mother teach you to believe in Jesus? And then he took quite a long time to answer that. And then he didn't say yes or no. He said she laid the foundation. Did she ever talk about multiple lives? No. Did she talk about zombies? No. And, I don't necessarily think this is a good defense case because it shows that even her beliefs became more radical at a certain point. But I suppose you could argue that um, this was Chad's influence. This was Chad's doing. This was Chad's manipulation. This was all Chad's under Chad's control. This was all Chad's influence. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the lights here. So just give me a second. Okay, Gloria says my oldest son earned his GED. Okay, that is an equivalency program. Okay, let's go to the next one. So I've just made a comment here that I'm not sure if it's so effective showing Laurie as a non-cult believer because it confirms there was a sudden and radical change in her beliefs. Nevertheless, I thought the defense was making quite a good argument. And so this was quite a surprise as well. He's asked, what did you think of Alex Cox? Laurie's son is asked point blank, what did you think of Alex Cox? And he doesn't really bat an eyelid. He says he was odd. And you get the sense that Colby didn't like Alex Cox. And is Alex Cox really a likable person? Was Alex Cox really a genial, sort of congenial uncle? Was he really a good person for JJ and entirely to be around. Right? He's crude. He calls him odd again. And I dealt with Alex's strange relationship, just how strange it was, with Laurie in a previous video. This part was also quite surprising that he did a docu-series. Was he paid for that? No. But the part that was quite surprising was, I'm not sure if I knew this and forgot about it, but Colby has also written a book about this case. Colby has also started, I think he started a media company. And I think, I could be wrong. Let me ask you guys, didn't Colby have his own YouTube channel or some YouTube related to this as well? Alex was a comedian, yeah, that's right. But the thing that I found kind of strange was I've seen Colby in several documentaries on this case. And if he's written a book about it, it's like, it seems like he's got a lot to say, except when he's in the courtroom. When he's in the courtroom, then there's a short little bit of testimony that he's going to give to the prosecution. I mean, the audio recording of him calling his mother in jail is about 3 times longer than he actually testified in court. And if you just think about that aspect, if you think about, I'm angry that my siblings are dead, I'm angry that my stepfather's dead, I'm troubled, I'm grieving, I'm whatever. And now's your chance to, and now you've got the right place to deal with that, to confront that. And then does he? And you might say, it's his mother. He doesn't want to lose his mother. Maybe he doesn't. So, but you're between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. I think it's very difficult if you've lost your whole family and there's one person left, and it's now within your power to get rid of them, to send them to jail, to send them to prison. That must be a horrible place to be. Think about the Morphew case. You know. Okay. The next one. My mother, this is something he wrote, I think, in his book. My mother spent her whole life protecting us. After she met Chad Daybell, she changed. That is not that's not a quote from the book. That's quoting Colby in a documentary. I also found that quite interesting is that Colby's so reticent effectively on the stand that a lawyer's got to quote what he says in a documentary that people see on TV. Colby, as I say, has also written a book. Does anyone know, does he have a YouTube channel? Does anyone know? Okay, let's continue. Archibald's now citing Colby's comments about himself in his book. And then that's it. That was the end of that. The defense is done. It was quite a long cross. It wasn't really a long cross, it wasn't like hours and hours long, but compared to how short his testimony in chief was, it's about 5 times longer. So Colby testifying, in terms of what the prosecutor asked him, was about 3 minutes. The cross-examination was about 15 minutes, plus minus. So at this point, the defense table are all standing. Laurie's got her back to the gallery. She's chatting to Archibald and Thomas. She swings her head and her hair. She's got her hands folded, her arms folded. She was dressed in black, glances back, still talking, still standing. I thought Archibald did quite a good job at the end of the day. Later on, I think during the lunch break, we found out how Laurie is coming to court and leaving court in a way that is frustrating all the photographers. She's coming in via like a subterranean entrance, and so that's what do you call it? That's out of the um, it's in a setting that the photographers don't have access to. So in a sense, this trial reminds me of the Patrick Frazee case, where from the beginning of the case to the end, you didn't get one single photo of Patrick Frazee entering the court, leaving the court, or in the court. And that is why I think there's almost a desperation amongst YouTubers. It's like, if I could get just one picture of Laurie, it would be gold. Yeah, but you're not allowed to. Everyone, like when I want to put up a video of Laurie, I've got to go and find I've got to find older pictures of her and kind of rework them to make them look to some extent current. But I mean, that's all the news crews there are faced with that same problem. Is you can't really shoot any photographic or video content. So what do you shoot? The outside of the courtroom, the letters of the courtroom from this angle or from that angle. And I must say, I did actually get some nice photos of the courtroom with blossoms in front of that, in front of it. Zircon says the court artist is good. Lynn says Colby probably doesn't want the guilt of being responsible for a conviction on top of all the grief he's dealing with. And Mel, I don't think you following what I'm sort of talking about. I don't mean like, I think there's two aspects. The one is, was Colby prepared to testify against his mother? And I think the answer is under certain conditions. The other thing is, there's certain areas that if they get into, can create confusion and difficulty for the prosecution. For example, the whole idea of what possibly happened between him and Joe and those incidents. It's just it's not relevant to the trial. And as soon as you open that can of worms, you're just you're creating kind of a trial within a trial. And you could see that the defense were trying to open that can of worms in order to distract from Laurie. The real criminal here is actually Joe Ryan or whoever. No, Laurie Ballard's on the stand. Let's deal with that. Okay, next one. Wood starts to redirect. Did your mom ever ask you for money? No. Did she give you money? Did she give you Tyler's debit card? Yes. Also thought that was quite interesting. Deborah, I must say thank you very much. I do, like, every day it costs $10 to go to court. Well, it actually costs it's about $11 to go to court. So between you and Sharon, I think I've just about broken even. Thanks, guys. Deborah says, your photos are the icing that lets us peek at the actual area. Love your channel. I must say, I really enjoy that aspect. I enjoy just taking photos and letting them speak for themselves. So I actually have got a couple of photos that I just haven't had time to put up. I will put those up. Thanks a lot, Sharon, as well. Terry says also thank you. But what I'm getting at is Colby wasn't like on the stand for a short time, simply because the prosecutor didn't ask him a lot of questions or whatever. It was agreed beforehand, I think, to what extent he would what do you call it? He would be available. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I do think the call from the jail, or the call to the jail, speaks volumes that you don't really need to be asked questions about. I do think that that's quite interesting. Amy, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so just a quick point on that. I'm from South Africa. Part of the reason that I came to America, when I came to America, was I did see, okay, the Laurie Vallow case is starting at the beginning of April. So that did enter into my thinking process. But another part that's totally, let's say, unprofessional was I thought, you know what, I would like to miss some of the winter here in South Africa. And I can tell you today qualifies as the kind of probably the coldest winter day that you'd have in the entire winter in South Africa. I was wearing all of my best winter clothes, and it was really, really, really cold today. And you might say it's not cold for you, but it was definitely cold for me. So it's really quite weird. I've also, funny enough, my last 2 or 3 drivers have all been African. So one guy was from Ghana, another guy was from Rwanda. No, hang on. One guy was from the Congo, the other one was from Rwanda, I think there was another one. And all of them are saying, "Jeepers, they can't get used to this cold weather." And I'm like, "Yeah, me as well." Elena says, "For your Uber, thanks a lot." All I know is I'm not going to reserve an Uber ever again because you paid 4 times the price. So anyway, appreciate that, guys. The other thing is it's taken so long for like summer to set in. Like I said, today's one of the coldest days I've had in America. Well, that's going to mean I'm going to need to stay a little bit longer in order to experience summer here. By the way, I've actually got my skin's peeling from that day I spent in the sun in California. Thank you, Mondo Exercises. Thank you. Charlene says, such a horrible tangled web. Well, compared to the tangled web of the Murdoch case, it's arguably an even more tangled web, right? Zircon says, would you be going to Austin? I am planning on going to Austin. I am. Jazzy says, I was on a very long call. I've missed tons. Okay, let's continue. Now that Jazz is back and off her call, let's keep going. So, yeah, Woody's done, but Colby might be back. And this is where they are going to play this call. The call was entered as Exhibit 34B. And so at this point, I noticed about 90% of the people in the overflow room are women. Actually, when I had my hair shaved today by sort of dudes from Iraq, they kind of said, thanks a lot, Angela. Thank you. I think the reporter who I've kind of been chatting with a little bit, I think her name's also Angela. Anyway, the guys who shaved my hair, they are also true crime fans. So I know they subscribe to my channel. And I think, let's just have a look. And I think their subscriptions, because it was the father and the son, have gotten me to 138,000. So if you guys are watching, thanks a lot. I thought that was actually quite funny. Because my channel's been like just under 138, and then I went to cut my hair, and these guys were like, "We love true crime. What's the name of your channel?" Anyway, yeah, definitely is a melting pot. I'm definitely noticing that. Okay, so let's go on. So this is from the the call, and it's a 10-minute call, and this is where you almost panic as a journalist. You are getting this incredible detail every second, and you, as you're typing, you're realizing you're missing that, and you're missing that, and you're missing that, and that's also where the temptation comes. You know, if I could just record this, I could transcribe it later, but you're not allowed to do that. And so everyone's tempted, but the good people follow the rules, right? Anyway, so he says, do you think you can hide from me? That's the first thing Colby says. And Laurie calmly says, I'm not hiding. Do you think you can murder my siblings? That's literally what he says. I thought you were a completely different person. And that's already telling us that that she kind of has multiple personalities, but that she's two people, that she kind of has a schizophrenic, selective reality view of the world and of people. And at the time, I was missing kind of what's going on. I thought, did Colby call her a little bit like Melanie Gibb? Right? But it's not. It was, a Jailhouse call is automatically recorded. You guys want to listen to some of it again? Do you guys want me to play some of that again? Not that. That's just, sorry, it's over here.
You think you can hide from me? Probably because you were my siblings. Probably why. Maybe you should understand. You didn't do anything, right? I prayed for you in my worst moments. I prayed for my siblings. You swore to me we're okay. I thought I could trust you. I thought that you were a completely different person.
Okay, we're going to come back to this. I just want to deal with a couple of questions. Jazzy says, do you think that most killers have the same mindset? And I think the answer is yes, in the sense that, and I say this quite often, all murderers are liars. Not all liars are murderers, but one way that you become a murderer is by taking extended leaves of absence from the truth. And so when you start lying to more and more people, you lie to yourself to the extent that your entire life becomes a lie. It's easy to start taking that step where you see people around you as disposable as well. The truth's disposable. And you can con people, and so they're disposable. So I think what all murderers have in common is that they're liars. And so if you can prove that someone is a very big liar, like an unusually habitual liar, then you're already partially making the case that you're dealing with a criminal mind. A lot of us tell small lies or infrequent big lies, but people who lie habitually are setting themselves up actually for disaster, because you're not only warping your own reality. You're used to warping the reality of others. And so when the temptation comes along to deal with a situation in a way of cheating reality, you think, well, if I just get rid of this person, then I can cheat reality and I'll just lie about what I did. And if you've been doing that your whole life and getting away with it, then it doesn't seem like a very big step, except it's a huge step. Except it's killing someone is a much bigger sin than lying, but it's when lying becomes big enough, then eventually murder is the next logical step. Okay, so let's continue. Thanks for your question.
I don't know in reverse mother.
You can make judgments when you weren't there and you don't know what happened.
What happened?
Everyone's making their own judgments.
Mom, you've been shoving BS on my throat for a very long time.
So I think those words are quite interesting. Mom, you've been shoving BS down my throat for a very long time. But think about the other thing that Laurie says is she says, people are making judgments that aren't true. What about the judgments she made? She judges her husband to have a demon. Is that true? Is that fair? She judges that her child is a zombie. And Chad says, actually, Tylee's been a zombie since she was 12 years old. Is that fair? She judges that her other child is possessed and so is his dog. Is that fair? Is that realistic? How is it that JJ and Tylee are demons but Colby doesn't? How is it that Tammy is demon possessed but Zulima is a goddess? How does that work? Okay, let's continue.
I'm going to talk to you. Sweet. Hey, listen to me. I'm not mad. Listen to me. Fine, listen to me. I've sat there and prayed. I can't tell you the amount of pain that I have felt from your decisions in Jesus Christ's name. It kills me to watch you sit here and tell me this is a trial. It kills me to watch you take the victim's route and say that this shouldn't have happened to you. When you are telling me that Chad David came into your life, and all of a sudden, everything changes. I'm talking about my spirit feels this. I prayed. I trusted you. I gave you every chance I could past my limitations as a human being. I pushed past all of everything to try to get to you, to help my own mother. You lied to me.
Okay, I want to quickly deal with Lisa's question. I've actually dealt with it a couple of times. So those who have been watching my coverage, what do you think the answer is to that question? It's a one-word answer. Think about what the answer was in the Murdoch case. What's the answer in this case? There you go. That's right. Money was definitely part of the whole scheme, in the same way that in the Murdoch case, the motive was money or greed. Power and control was also part of, like, a secondary part of that, right? But you know, in Laurie's case, and Chad, I think as well, when you see where they come from, when you see what's going on, when you see how simple their lives are and also how little money they have. Laurie used to be a hairdresser. Chad used to be a grave digger. If you look at Alex Cox, it's the same thing. He used to be a stand-up comedian, but anyway, he wasn't really earning much either. You look at Zulima. For all of these people, the attraction is power. You're a god. You're recognized by God. You're going to change the whole world. The whole world's going to know your name. And as a result of gaining this power, obviously you're going to have a lot of money. Give up your job, and we'll give you power, and through your relationship with us, through rubbing shoulders with us, you'll have incredible power, and then you'll be okay financially, right? It is greed for power and money. But if you think about the Murdoch case, why is it more greed than it is power? Well, because he had power to begin with. He wanted more money, and he also recognized that you could make so much money through insurance. And ironically, it's the same thing with the Laurie Vallow case. When someone dies, you can get a lot of money just like that. You don't have to work for years. You don't have to cut 10,000 people's hair or whatever, 100,000, right? But the difference is Alex Murdoch was already powerful. He was already from part of a powerful family. The power wasn't as important as the money, and he just wanted more and more money. And that's why there were all of these frauds in addition to everything else he was doing. But Laurie Vallow, she didn't have money or power, but she recognizes to Chad, in my opinion, that he's found a route, a ruse to gain power where people give up their power. They say, I'll give up my job and I'll follow you. I'll, if I tell you that person's got a demon, I will do that kind of thing. And so Laurie goes from being an unemployed ex-hairdresser to being someone who Jesus himself appears to, and whatever. And she's so important that she feels like she's got to get married in Hawaii, right? It's a statement of power. It's a statement of prestige. When you go to where Chad's actually from in Rexburg, you actually realize what a nondescript life he must have been living. What a contrast the Hawaii honeymoon adventure must have been. Because they can't be more different. Rexburg, Idaho, and Hawaii cannot be more different. Okay, let's continue.
More times than I can count.
I said it earlier, I think that is Laurie sniffing in the background.
They're gone.
In terms of what she's hearing in court.
And my phone's being texted by my little sister, who's not even alive. My little brother, who's the sweetest little kid ever. For what purpose? Can you tell me that this is God's will for my whole family, including my stepfather, to be dead? After everything you've tried to tell me, you can tell me right now that Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, is on your side. You tell me that with all conviction in your heart that Jesus Christ is on your side. Please.
I can't tell you that.
Say it. Say his name. Say that he told you. And you followed him like exactness. Because I have prayed for you. I sat there and tried my best to forgive.
Okay, so just to reiterate what I said earlier, I wasn't in court, but two people that I spoke to said that Laurie was tearful and wiping away tears while this was being played. So it could actually be both, that both mother and son were feeling the emotions of this conversation. I think, it would definitely be triggering given the context against which it was played, which is they just found Tylee and JJ's bodies in Chad's backyard. And as I say, I was there yesterday. It's actually hard to look at that and then think that that is where two young lives ended up. It just seems so unnecessary and not unlikely, but seems so such a waste. And then you see that and you think, it hardly seems believable. And then you look to the side and you see toys and ribbons and things on a barbed wire fence nearby. Okay. Let's go back to the tweets for a second. Laurie says, I'm sorry you feel that way. And then he says, I thought I could trust you. I can't tell you the pain I've felt. You've been lying to me. I've even been getting texts from my sister who isn't alive. Right? And then there's a point where Laurie laughs. We're about to get to it. It says, I was deceived and broken by my own mother. What are you doing? Laurie says, all these judgments, they think they know what happened. And then Colby says something about you blasphemed and you murdered my siblings, and then she laughs. And then he confronts her on saying, this is funny. You think this is funny? And then she says, I love you. You're going to get the idea that she's trying to shut him down. She's actually going to end the phone call because she obviously knows it's being recorded. You kind of get the sense that she's trying to shut him down in a nice, patronizing way. I love you. One day you will see, one day you'll understand. You weren't there. Thank you. Bye-bye. Except she then gets drawn into the conversation from this point. And that's when they start shouting at each other. Right? So let's play that part. It's around about at the 5-minute mark.
You and Chad, Alex, and I was deceived, and I was broken by my own mother. What are you doing? What are you doing? I prayed to Heavenly Father, and I said, you tell me, Father.
All right, have all the instructions. They think they know what happened. They think
I don't care about
they know
other people.
what happened. They think they know what's responsible.
Do you know what you told me? Do you know what you told me?
You weren't there, so
You're right. I wasn't there. I was kept in
that's right.
black.
And one day,
Two kids
you will know.
murder.
One day,
Murder.
you will know what actually happened.
You're right. You know what, Mom?
And we all will stand there with evidence.
Everything is right. You're absolutely right. He will convict the people who act in his name with pure blasphemy. This is funny. This is funny. This is funny. You're laughing like this is funny. How come your camera's on? You don't want to look at me in the eye? Why can't you look at me? It's just you and me. I'm in my house alone.
I love you. I always will. One day you will see and one day you will understand.
Go ahead and
I
hang
do
up.
love
See
you.
how that works for you.
So can you see at this point, she seems like she's trying to wrap it up. And then after this point, she's actually going to get quite strident and speak up and speak quite loudly. Someone mentioned here that that's quite a good point, where she says, you think you know what happened, so what did happen? If she knows what happened, what did happen? She seems to be saying, no one knows what happened. I was there. Okay, so what did happen? What's your story? Because we haven't heard that story yet. What is JJ with Kay? No, she's not. Is JJ with Melanie? No, she is not. So what is the story then? Yeah, she did giggle. She did giggle. Yeah, there's the law.
You gonna hang up?
I don't have anything else to say. You obviously don't know. You weren't there. You weren't there. Summer wasn't there. My mom wasn't there. The police weren't there. The FBI weren't there.
Your
Nobody was there.
Kylie and JJ Mom.
Yeah, and guess what? They know. They know exactly what happened. And they love me. And we're still together forever. They love me. And they are fine. And they do know the truth. And I know the truth. And we're the only people that do. So you can judge me, Colby, all day long. Go ahead and judge me. The whole world has. The whole world has judged me.
Listen to me.
They don't know, and you don't know. You don't know what I've been through, and you didn't even give a crap what they've been through. Nobody does, except for me. I'm the one that knows. I am the one that was in the hospital with Kylie for hundreds of days watching her suffer. I am the one that was there doing everything with JJ every day. I was the one who did it all these years.
You did it all to throw it in the garbage. They're not.
You don't know what happened. You don't get what happened.
Freaking matter what happened if they're buried in your new husband's backyard. Tell me that matters what happened. You tell me that you did this in Jesus' name, Mom. I have to hear that. You believe it and you are not afraid. Every witness of Christ will scream his name when he comes back. So you are that person.
I am that person. I am that person. And he will come. Oh, yeah, because that's what it is. You don't even know. You weren't even there.
When I see you outside in October, what did you tell me? What did you tell me? What lies did you feed me? Why would you lie to me if you're with the Lord and you've seen him, and I'm just talking purely to you, and you've seen Jesus Christ, where's the fear? Why wouldn't you tell me something? Why were you afraid? Why is everyone against you? Why is everything against my mom?
You can be against me all you want. One day, we will all stand there with Jesus. We will all stand there with Jesus, and you will know the truth of everything. Not for me.
You're telling me that this was all done in light. Say it. Tell me that this was done in Jesus' name.
You don't know what happened.
Why? Why don't I know, Mom? Oh, because I was kept in the dark to protect me? You know who needed protecting? My little dead siblings. That's who needed protecting, Mom. This
Where were you? Is that what you think you need to do? I hadn't been.
Okay, I'm going to read a couple more tweets. And so, yeah, the jury here was getting to hear the real Laurie, right? They can see Laurie in front of them, but now they're getting a chance to hear her. And it's quite dramatic. They must be shocked by her giggling in the middle of this kind of tirade. They're not only hearing her, it's in her own voice. People aren't putting words in her mouth. She's speaking for herself. But I think the most damaging of all is Colby's raw emotions. Colby is hurt. He's broken. He's lost his whole family. He's lost his father, his siblings, and effectively, if his mother has committed this crime, he's lost her too. So he's effectively the survivor of a family annihilation, a little bit like Buster Murdoch, right? And so this, I think, is very damaging to Laurie's case. Just hearing, after having seen the autopsy photos of Kylie, JJ, and Tammy, now you're hearing the damage, the emotional damage that a survivor is feeling in Colby. And yeah, you actually have her own son confronting her. And so you sitting here saying, I don't think Laurie, what did Laurie actually do? What is Laurie actually guilty of? Well, you have got her own son, a recording of her own son confronting her, accusing her, feeling destroyed. And so someone that close to making these accusations, isn't there some basis to it? And then he says, you can't lie to me anymore. meaning you've been saying that JJ is there and Kylie is there, and you're coming up with all of these deflections and denials. Well, now that their bodies have been dug up, you can't lie about that anymore. You can't lie about the fact that I don't know where they are, or they're safe, or I can't tell you. They're not safe. We do know where they are. She can't lie about that anymore. And if they'd never been found, Laurie could have kept lying about that. But because they've been found, she can't lie about that anymore. So now she's got to explain, how did her kids end up in the ground, and how did she not know if they were supposed to be in her custody, and she was supposed to know where they were, and she was picking up social security checks. How can she have an innocent explanation for that? Terry says, I'm so happy to have made it live and hear you break things down the way it truly is, all the way from Australia. You'll be happy to hear, Sarah, that I have been officially given a ticket to attend trial, to be in the courtroom tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not quite sure where I'll be sitting. I don't think I'm going to be in the prime seat that I was in last time, but I'm sure it'll be worthwhile regardless. You don't get any more authentic than that, than actually being in the courtroom firsthand. Okay, let's go on to a couple of more tweets. Does the defense have any questions? No questions. I'm not going to deal with that. So I don't know whether this is true. Someone may have assumed that Laurie was grinning while Colby was testifying. Someone else said that she was just looking at him very intently, was trying to get his attention. And then they dealt really exhaustively with the financial narrative. What's quite important with that is that what Alex Cox ended up spending so much money on, 46 guns. Anyway, let's play the last 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna wrap up.
Months later, you ran away. I never wanted you guys to leave. I would have taken those kids in 1 second. I would bring them into my home, and I would have taken care of them. That's not even a question to me.
Yeah, everybody
You can't say that you know.
Everybody says that.
Says it now. Where was my offer?
I'm saying
Well, you
I did everything for them.
Well, me,
I had
Peter Griffin run away together in Hawaii. How about that? If you had offered me, you would have known. You cannot sit here and lie.
That's not everything. That is not the truth. Okay? That's what people are
They were
thinking.
murdered,
They're
put in
assuming.
there, and then you walked away. So what
No, you don't know that. No, that is not what happened. That is not what happened.
You tell me what happened. If you can tell me what happened, then I don't care. If you can actually explain it, then it's different.
I would love
But you can't.
to talk to you about it.
Mom, you've been saying that you've been wanting to tell me for a very long time, and you never say it. You have no idea how much pain I have felt in my body. I feel like I could die. My own mom, my siblings, and my whole family, my dad, everyone is gone except you and your kid because of it. I have prayed to Heavenly Father Himself and asked Him to help me survive this. Do you understand the freaking earthquake that has been caused? Do you know how many people are hurt and broken now? And you're telling me that there's a reason? Why are you following Chad down the rabbit hole, Mom? Why would you follow anybody that is not good? How can you follow someone that cannot lead you to salvation in Jesus, Mom? You can't lie to me anymore. You can't pretend anymore. You can't hide anymore. If you want to tell me what happened, I called you for that very reason. You had enough condemnation for the whole time and eternity, but you're telling me that you're going to stand in front of Jesus Christ and you're going to.
Okay, so there's 1 minute of audio to go, but I want to address this point made by Gloria. you know, this doesn't apply to all of us, thank goodness, but some of us are born into toxic families. Some of us have family members that drive us crazy. Maybe we drive them crazy. Maybe they're right. Maybe we are crazy. Maybe we're right that they are, um, toxic or whatever the thing is. And I do think sometimes for your own sanity, you've got to make a call and say, in order to preserve my sanity, in order to that I can just build my life, in order to even rebuild my life, I need to separate myself to some extent from this person. There's that saying that someone brings out the best in you. That's always the best relationship to be in. When you with someone, you want to impress them, but you also on your toes and you feel like you've got great energy, and they just bring out a side of you that's there, but gets a kind of a fuel, right? And so that those are always good relationships. But you can also have relationships where people are always undermining you, always thinking the worst of you, always expecting the worst of you, or whatever. And I think one of the things one can take away from this case is, I'm certainly someone who wants to confront someone to sort something out. I want to deal with something to sort something out. And some people have a default setting where don't confront me. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to explain it. I don't want you to understand what's going on. I don't owe you any explanation. And, so you kind of have an irreconcilable situation there. I want to deal with this so it can be sorted out. And the other person's like, I don't want to deal with this, and that's how we sort it out. Right? And so I think sometimes you've got to make an executive decision and say, this isn't good for my health. I recognize that whenever I have this encounter with you, I come away depressed, despairing. And then you've sometimes got to, for your own health, you've got to limit those exposures, right? Laurie is the epitome of a disrespectful person. Yeah, and so as a grown up, you can kind of say, I choose to have this experience of my life, right? If you were bullied as a child or bullied as some person in a particular position, you can say as an older person, I don't need this in my life. I mean, you've got to be careful because sometimes you need to deal with the complexities of life rather than run away from them. But you can also say, you know what, I only have so much time in each day, and do I really want to sign myself up for this kind of thing? And as an adult, you can say, I'm going to choose to be in the situation. And I guess you've got to be careful because you can also put yourself in an echo chamber. We surround yourself with people that say what you want to hear. Also, sometimes good to have people who are refreshingly spontaneous or refreshingly random or refreshingly like individualistic, who refreshingly break that pattern of perhaps telling you what you want to hear. But I'm just saying, someone who's always let's say seeing the worst in you, you can decide you want that exposure. And so if you don't set boundaries, then that's actually your fault, right? That's actually your fault. And to Charles's credit, Charles was trying to set boundaries for Laurie before basically all of this seemed to be happening. Charles spoke to the law enforcement, was trying to communicate what she was and what she was doing. If he'd succeeded, he would have saved his life, Kylie's life, JJ's life, and Tammy's life, arguably, and possibly even Alex's life. If it succeeded in identifying and setting those boundaries, if it perhaps recorded Laurie doing something, that he had better evidence, who knows? You know, if he'd gone to a bit more effort, who knows what the outcome could have been. Okay, so now I want to play the last minute.
That I'm still praying for you. I am still praying for you. I don't know where the lies in all these things are written. I don't see it. I never have. The light of Jesus Christ is the most powerful thing that's ever lived. It's the most loving, embracive thing that has ever happened to this world. And I pray that you see him and fall into his grace. I pray every day. I pray, no matter how mad I am at you, no matter how bad I want to hit your husband in the face with a shovel. I pray for you. I pray for him. You ripped my heart out, and you ripped out everyone in this family's heart out. I'm going to be in Idaho this week. You need to look me in my eye, Mom. Look me in my eye.
I'm trying not to sneeze. I think it's going to come out. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Whew. Sometimes when it's like pending, you've got to look into lights, and it sort of makes you go like that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. That's going to help cover my Ubers tomorrow. Actually, that covers my haircut, so thank you for that. Wendy said Ali is largely impotent for whatever reason. For Rebus, he started siding with the defense. It's got a lovely family portrait, right? Can you see how he's quite a good-looking guy? His mother's actually, I know you guys don't like her, but she is actually quite a presentable woman, right? And that is why she has such a profound impact on one man after the next. I mean, Chad especially felt like she was this incredible goddess that you know, on any other planet, other than planet Chad, you know, gobbledygook, he wouldn't have had a chance with her, right? Wendy says some people grow up sooner than others and they can run away to seek their fame and fortune. Thanks, Obsessed, for Disneyland. Thank you. Salute. Okay. Yeah, she did have beautiful children. Is Jennifer Strickland from Wyoming? Anyway, Terry, you can thank Terry that I did another hour. I was actually going to sign off about an hour ago, but thanks a lot for being here. I hope you found this discussion worthwhile. I think tomorrow is going to be very interesting just because I'm going to be sitting in court. I'm going to be observing Laurie. I'm going to be taking notes. And so far, there's been fireworks of some kind virtually every day in this trial. So we'll see who's going to be called next. I've got to say, as exciting and interesting as the morning session was, the afternoon, although it is essential, covering the financial narrative. I don't think it was presented terribly well. So I don't know. I wonder when they're going to show, crime scene photos. I wonder whether they're going to start talking about Alex's GPS data. It feels like there's still quite a lot to present, but I'm just trying to think what still needs to be presented. I think the police narrative, in a sense, beyond the financial narrative, beyond the autopsy photos, are talking about things like fingerprints, things like GPS data. I think Alex's role in this, I'm talking about his direct role in this, I think still needs to be addressed, and maybe some of that will start coming out. Something else that might be very, very interesting is if they call, for example, a psychologist, like as an expert witness, and they say, can you explain what's going on here? Right? I think we can also expect to see other family members being called to testify as well. Perhaps their cousin. So I guess we'll see. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen tomorrow? Terry says it's the same way with the Stork case. Hard to believe it can keep going for weeks. I think what's also going to be interesting is the big question that is starting to hover, which is Laurie going to testify? If Laurie does testify, that could add maybe a week to the whole thing. Thanks, Vicky, registered nurse. Can they prove that she conspired to kill? Yeah, that's the question. Sarah says earrings from the psychologist will be interesting. Someone says summer up next. You know, all I'm going to say to that is there are a lot of journalists in court, and including me, and we are tweeting all the time. We're all doing the same thing. And do you really think that that's the case? Because you'd imagine they would have taken her phone and checked, and yeah. So I think you've got to maybe do some soul searching. Is she right and the court is wrong, or is the court have set rules and the rules apply to everyone? Which one is it? Wendy says, as far as I'm concerned, I've already heard the proof that Laurie has conspired. I kind of tend to agree with that. I think quite a lot has been provided already. The bottom line is it going to be enough to prove to all the jurors? Sarah said, I don't think Laurie will testify. Her ego won't allow it. I think it's the opposite. I think her ego will be what makes her want to spin her story. Okay, I think that is about it. Let's look at the last couple of comments. Wendy says Laurie is attractive. She's not very attractive in court, that's for sure. But she certainly was. She did have her heyday. It's also quite a good point. Laurie would love the attention, right? Bear in mind it's Lori. There's quite a lot of certainty that it was Alex. Yeah. I mean, we know for a fact that Alex killed Charles, like kind of in broad daylight. But let's hear what the court, how the court deals with that story. I tend to agree. I hope that she testifies. I think she will testify. I don't think she should testify. And if she does testify, I think that will be an undoing. I do think it's possible that she might sort of take the position that I have nothing to lose if I don't testify, whatever. And then she might say, if I do testify, maybe I can mitigate. So I might be found X, Y, Z, but if I testify, maybe I can mitigate, maybe I can do something to get some sympathy, right? So yeah, I guess we'll see what ultimately happens. Fariba, thank you so much. Wow. Thanks a lot for that. By the way, that's kind of how much my dinner. I mean, I went to Subway before I came on, and actually bought um, three Subway sandwiches and two like iced teas, and it came to about that amount. So it's actually quite funny that you say that. Obviously, it's something that I want to eat in 3 different stages, but thank you so much. Subway? What's wrong with Subway? I've been wanting to eat Subway for quite a while. In fact, on my drive to, because it's healthy, on my drive to Wyoming, I saw a Subway and I meant to go there, and I ultimately didn't. Thanks a lot, Terry Dean. Thank you. Terry and I are hopefully going to go back to um, uh, Jackson Hole, and maybe I can twist Terry's arm to take Terry to Rexburg, because I actually didn't find Laurie's apartment. I know it's very close to them. I put the right address into the GPS, but I didn't. What do you call it? I didn't actually locate the apartments, but I don't know. Maybe I can convince Terry to go there. Okay, so let's. What is Kelly says, even if they blame it all on Alex Cox, but in her mind, the kids were zombies. They were already dead. Easy to kill somebody if they were already dead. A question that I have, and this may be part of the defense case, is if you make if you go down a psychological path that is out of touch with reality, then are you culpable for your actions? In other words, if you are mentally unstable or kind of deranged in a certain way, then are you still culpable for your actions? And quite a good example of a case where that was a factor was the shootings in the Aurora Theatre, where a psychologist had kind of assessed that person and found that there was sort of a case for mental illness. I don't know if you guys remember that. Patty says, I love Subway. Yeah. By the way, I'm really enjoying not only America, but I'm quite enjoying my time sort of where I'm staying in my own little home, an Airbnb. Getting up, almost like having a work day, get up, go to court, report, come back, get something to eat, do a bit of work, watch a bit of TV. It's actually I'm quite enjoying it. On the weekend, hire a car, drive somewhere. It just feels quite nice to be functional in the day and moving around another country like you've been doing it for years. I don't know, it's just been pretty cool. Just really enjoying kind of the efficiency over here. Good roads. You order an Uber and it's right there. Yeah, it's just been really, really enjoyable. So I really do appreciate all the super chats because that allows me to keep going. You know what I mean? It's also expensive being here, but this sort of allows me to cover some of my daily costs. So I really do appreciate it. And I just hope that I can keep sort of providing really authentic content. I hope I can appear in court not appear in court, attend trial in Austin, for example. I'd love to do that. We'll see what happens. It's funny when you say it almost looks like home. It actually reminds me a lot of the countryside where I'm from. There's also a lot of farmers in the community. It's just not quite we don't really have snow on the mountains as close as, where I'm from. So, yeah. Quite a few people have been asking me about Timmy. I haven't forgotten about my dog. Um, uh, I actually put a picture of Timmy on Instagram today. So I'm going to have a look at Timmy sort of cuddling up to a toy rabbit. And I guess that's his way of self-soothing. I know he's been taken good care of. He's been taken for a walk every day, sometimes twice a day. So, his life is continuing. And yeah, I tend to really miss him when I see other dogs. I was quite surprised to see so many dogs in Big Sky and also Jackson Hole, people taking their dogs with them kind of on holiday. And, seeing him in airports as well kind of not reminds me, I actually have to at some point fly to me somewhere. And the fact that you're seeing dogs all the time makes you realize that not only is it possible, but it's happening. So that's the next hurdle. Kelly says, thanks a lot, Kelly. Jenny Strickland, are you in Wyoming? I have an old friend in Jackson Hole with your name. Okay. Yeah, I think Timmy might appreciate me a bit more when I get back. He'll be like, Mickey says, I've enjoyed your travels, photos, some places I've been, very nice on top. So I'm going to still share some photos from today, so watch this space. And then obviously I'm going to, tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day because it's in court again. So I'll try and provide, really good coverage. I must also tell you that my plan is to leave Idaho. When is it? My plan is to leave Idaho on Thursday, a week from this Thursday. So I'm really just spending 2 weeks in Idaho, and then I might swing back remember, this is an 8-week trial. I'm attending 2 weeks of it. I might swing back if it turns out that Laurie's going to testify or something like that. Or, yeah. So I'm I'm covering the trial, then I'm abandoning it. I'm going to leave the trial, but then I might circle back after 2, 3, 4 weeks. We'll see it, and then catch the last 2 or 3 weeks of it or more. We'll see. Okay, just a final thank you to Deborah. Deborah said, I haven't been in. My hubby has been rushed by ambulance. I know. Is that today? Is that happening right now? Is it the situation of the past week? Anyway, our thoughts are with you, and I can see you've got a little doggy there keeping you company. But our thoughts are with you. I should hope your husband's going to be okay. Trouble breathing. What's the latest on your husband, Deborah? Today? No, okay. Well, anyway, we thinking about you, and let us know. Please, we all giving you like a collective hug of support. Hopefully, it's going to be okay. But we are really sorry to hear about that. I'm glad that we can kind of keep you company at such a traumatic time. Anyway, let us know how things are. I'd love to say that we there for you, but I mean, I'm literally on the other side of the world, but we're certainly there for you in spirit. Mickey, thank you as well. Thank you very much. Sally says we'll pray for you. Okay. Elise says late. I'll watch on the rewind. Maureen says we're sending prayers to you and your husband. So yeah, we're thinking of Deborah and her husband. Obviously, quite a critical situation playing out right now on the other side of the world. And hopefully he's going to pull through. Let's kind of just send out positive energy, and Deborah's a good friend of this channel, and we definitely hoping for a it's obviously not a good situation to be in hospital under those circumstances. So we certainly hope that her husband's going to improve. So anyway, our thoughts are with you. Our thoughts are definitely with you. Thanks, Deborah. Okay, Maureen says, get a good night's sleep. I am tired. I've not been getting enough sleep for quite a few nights in a row. I was actually tempted, don't laugh, I was actually tempted to sleep in this morning when it was snowing, because I actually forgot to register. How dumb is that? I forgot to register for today. And ultimately, I did email and just said, is it okay? And then they said it was. So yeah. But yeah, I'm going to try and get an early night, which means trying to get to bed before midnight for once. So we'll see if that happens. We're going to keep Deborah in our thoughts, Deborah and her husband. And otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Take care, guys. And look out for some photos. I'll post a couple of photos from, the outside of the courtroom today. See you guys tomorrow. Ciao.